Welcome to the Whatever Podcast. I'm your host, Matt. With me today, I have a co-host, Tucker.
Hello.
And with me, I also have Brice.
Hello. Good to be here.
We are going to talk about a couple things. Mainly, we're going to talk about some tabletop games. Basically, your experience with them and, how you got into D&D. And then we'll take a quick break, have a word from our sponsors, and then we'll go into talking about the fantasy novels.
Rad. Can't wait.
All right.
Good, you don't have to. Here, right now, happening.
So I have some questions out here, but we don't have to really go off the questions. We can use the questions and go from there.
Just spitball into anything.
Yeah, vamp a little bit.
But what is your most vivid memory you have of playing a tabletop game?
Oh.
You can think on it. It's okay.
Oh no, that's pretty easy. It's pretty relevant, pretty recent. I gotta say my most vivid was my first real campaign character death. This was actually just 2 years ago, not even that. Alex's last campaign, one that Tucker and Matt actually both started.
Yeah, the beginning of that,
Yeah, it was Death the Mandias, the character I introduced in that game. And that character was meaningful, first of all, because it wasn't intended to be a campaign character. It was like, hey, we're doing a one-shot.
Yeah,
like, all right,
and
let
then
me do something
snowballed into our campaign, yeah.
Yeah, as the best campaigns somehow do around us.
Yeah, sure.
Started off as just like a standard fighter, I didn't know what I was doing with him, so it was just all combat. There's no dialogue. It's like, it's a one-shot. I'm just going to kill shit. And
nobody knew what they were doing.
Yeah. So, I had to take some time to develop this character, which was hard in that setting because I didn't know what I was doing, and Alex let me to recreate him multiple times, and he had a really great arc eventually where, my character's haunted past came back around. His evil cult dad showed back up and was trying to basically, consume the souls of a city to feed Cthon, an elder god.
Wow.
And
more important than my job.
I ended up, killing the dad, as the good old arc goes, and the epic hero story. The most vivid memory for that character was definitely we're in a city called Northall, which was not even really relevant to the campaign, but the DM brought it up, and characters sometimes latch onto something like that sounds significant.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
I'm going to go there, and you're not going to stop me because you mentioned it. It sounds cool.
Yeah.
And
this is my story. I'm going to make it.
Yeah. And now we're going to go there and figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And good luck to make up with whatever you didn't expect to have to do. And now you have to do it. We go there. It's being influenced by this hag who's got these giants riled up and are bringing war to the city of Northall. As hags, war to Northall, as hags tend to do, is rile shit up. And our only plan as we're trying to fight this siege was, this is bad.
Yeah.
We can't sit here and fight off an entire army. It's just 5 of us. So let's sneak on in to their camp and cut off that snake. We do that, successfully do that. Half our party's downed and doing death saves, and as we're fleeing with the druid in a mammoth form, I'm holding onto the bodies in the back of the mammoth to keep them with us, so they're not getting
tossed
double
around,
tapped.
throwed,
Tossed around and double tapped on the way out. And we realized that we can't outrun these giants because they have the same speed we do. Yeah. They've got range attacks that 240 feet, just throwing boulders at us.
Yeah, there's no avoiding this.
So my character's like, you know what? Only one we're going to have to fix this, and someone's going to have to stop them from chasing us.
Yeah. It's either one of us or all of us.
Exactly.
Kind of situation, yeah.
Yeah, and Mandias had completed his character arc. He had his whole backstory come into play.
He had his retribution.
So you were satisfied with his death?
Oh, absolutely. It was the most cinematic thing I could have asked for. As my character turns to look at the druid who's begging me not to do it because he sees what I'm about to do, and I say, make this worthwhile. I leap off the back of the mammoth. I use command on one of the lead giants that are chasing us, and just start taking him on, eating his hits.
Nice.
Knew it was going to be a death because there were 10 giants all coming in to surround me.
But you took aggro.
I took aggro.
You gotta take aggro.
I allowed the others to get away, as a good tank does.
Yeah.
Right as we start to play out the final moments of my character's scene, John Bellion's Low comes on.
Oh, nice.
Low. And just such the best moment. It was entirely by accident, just part of the playlist that was already on.
Which all great things, tend to do sometimes, it was happy accidents.
Yeah, it was serendipitous.
Yeah.
And the song starts playing, which was one of my favorite songs of all time. And, right as I'm having these final moments, he lets me narrate, how this is going. I take off my battered helm and toss it on the ground.
Oh, God.
My armor's all bent in, out of shape. I can barely move as it is. I've got my sword still in my hand and get one last strike in, take out one last giant before the last one comes in. Just
BAM!
just crushes me against the tree behind me and just beats the life from me.
Wow.
The heroic sacrifice.
Yeah, it's the only campaign character I've ever had that's died in my 10 years of playing D&D.
Yeah, I've never died. Yeah. I kind of want to, though, at the same time. I mean, if it's like that, I definitely want to die, for sure. A blaze of glory, heroic fucking last huzzah, my friends, my life for my friends. Dear God, that's fucking good. No,
it was incredible. And it was something that me and the DM had talked about. I told him I wanted to retire the character. I knew that I had completed my arc. And
retribution had been served.
Yeah, I felt like, what all this character meant to do on screen had been accomplished.
Yeah.
And I wanted to try something new at that point. And, it was just a really cool chance to write him off in a way that was fitting for this knightly sort of, champion of the faith, champion of the people.
I feel like a lot of the circumstances kind of lined up to be great too, because it's like you're sacrificing yourself for your friends, and a good portion of them are new at D&D. Like JT and Kristen are new at D&D, so it's like, you don't want them to have to bite a bullet, right? It's their first character ever. They're learning the ropes, and then you're basically just like, yeah, you have to die for us. Yeah. So now it's like you're stepping up to the plate where it's like, hey, I've been around this ballpark a little bit. Yeah. Let me show you guys how it's fucking done. And then you jump off, save everyone's life, slaughter some trolls on the way. I mean, it just, the stars kind of fucking align for you there a little bit to make it sound like the most badass thing I've ever been a part of, yeah.
And with our groups, death is always something that's going to be on the table.
Oh, sure.
We don't fudge the dice for the sake
of... All you motherfuckers who I've ever fucking been a part of, you like to murder people. You like to try to murder us, which is not anything wrong. I'm not trying to take that away from that. It makes it challenging and more fun when the threat is right there and your life is on the line. But you guys try to fucking murder us. You guys don't throw any punch, don't hold back any punches sometimes.
That's what makes such good epic fantasy, like Boromir, that dude.
It makes you more invested in the character too, right? Like your life is on the line. It's like it's not just like a video game where it's like, oh, I'll just die and restart, and it doesn't fucking matter. It's like, no, these choices matter.
That's the most important thing. D&D
my neck's on the line here. Yeah,
choices have to matter, otherwise D&D isn't fun for me. It's not.
Yeah, no,
it doesn't
inconsequential. Just like
Yeah, I mean, it's the true game,
Totally.
You build a life, you put it on the line. There it is. Boom.
This is a really good chance to show these new players that death can happen, and death can also be such a great story beat and such a great, end of a chapter for an arc of a campaign. That was the end of Act 2. That wasn't even the end of the campaign. We still played for another 8 months in that same setting before the campaign wrapped up, just with me a new character.
Oh, yeah. I mean, an artificer, if I'm correct, yes?
Yeah, artificer, gunslinger style, based off one of the more popular Magic the Gathering characters, Chandra Nalar. Real fire-based. So it's kind of like the whole theme of all my spells are somehow related to fire. So whether it's thunder as a byproduct of fire, or tech that's fueled by my magical fire kind of thing.
Interesting. And then you're always igniting something with said fire.
Yeah, usually myself.
Perfect. Yeah. You guys played in a semi-recent what was the city? Takavon, and that's a newer thing, right?
I don't know if Takavon is something he homebrewed or something that exists in the Forgotten Realms. I'm not entirely sure.
Okay.
I make sure that when a campaign is being led that I'm not leading, I don't read the content because I don't want to spoil anything in case he wants to borrow as much as he wants.
I feel like I've just heard the name Takavon before. I could be mistaken. Maybe I've just heard it from our friends more than a couple times, and that's why I'm getting it confused, but I'm not sure. I also find it hard to believe that Alex wouldn't homebrew something.
Yeah.
With all that infinite creativity he's always got, just always trying to write it down in that fucking notebook.
I always feel the best way to DM is to homebrew and then steal influence and inspiration wherever you can find it. It's about,
Of course. I mean, life is inspiration itself. You run into something and you're like, that's really cool. I'm gonna make it mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna make it mine.
So what do you enjoy more then? Do you enjoy DMing or playing more?
That's the hardest question for me. I would say that in terms of enjoyment without care is playing, because I'm very self-conscious as a DM. I'm very much, every single session I'm thinking afterwards, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better? Are the players still having fun? Is this a compelling story for them? Am I giving them the things that they wanted to buy into for this setting in this session? And it's very much a lot of strings attached to be a DM because there's so much pressure. Or at least I put pressure on myself. Our party's wonderful people and our friend group is incredible people that it's never as much pressure as I put on myself. They'd be happy just to be playing as long as I keep, coming with original content and stuff that they can interact with that have meaningful choices. But for me, it's like, oh my God, did that NPC, were they meaningful to this character? Was that character arc capped off appropriately, or does this character still feel like there's not closure?
Yeah, because you're running the show here, you know? So it's
Yeah.
like all eyes are on you. So, of course, there's always going to be, whether it's an extreme amount or at least a modicum amount, there's always going to be some pressure there. You know, it's like you're steering the ship, you know?
For
and
sure.
if the ship is steering into shitty waters, you're the reason it got there, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Now, that's not always to per se. You know, there's sometimes, like we were just talking about, where it's like players will hear something and they're like, I want to do that. And you're just sitting there and you're like, that's not really a thing. I haven't really done anything with that. And they're like, I want to do that. And you're like, can you give me 5 minutes? You know, fuck 5 minutes, please, God, something. Like someone who lives here. I don't know. It was just a name that I made up. Yeah. So a lot of the other pressure, and then I could definitely see what you're talking about too. Because a player, it's just like, so when you're a DM, it seems, I've never been one personally, but it always seems like you're kind of like a company, right? So, and then the DM's like the boss, and then everyone else is just an employee.
I feel more like everyone is shareholders.
Okay.
Because as we talked about for the previous campaign where our character died, like the DM didn't plan on us going to Northall.
Right.
Northall. He didn't plan on us, you know, exploring that story beat or even like considering that as an option. It was just supposed to be like a city on a map that we're like, all right, moving on. But we were like, no, that's where we want to go, and he accommodated to do that. So I mean, it's very much. I think the pleasure of DMing is that I can choose to, you know, go with that ridiculous beat in that moment, go with that ridiculous idea of, okay, this guy has this, you know, addiction to something maybe, or this desire to do something that isn't consistent with the other characters they met so far. I can explore that in a moment's notice without needing to kind of like build up to it, without needing to so much like forecast it. But the pleasure of being a player is I get to be a consistent person throughout the entire campaign. I can have like consistent values. And sometimes that means you have to deprive yourself of like, yeah, I would love as a person to have this magic item in game, but my character would never go anywhere near that thing, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe like an enchanted sword that has an evil soul inside it. Like
Yeah.
my lawful good paladin would never touch that.
No.
But me as a player, I'm like, man, that would be so much fun to play with.
Yeah.
Man, the stats are awesome. Man,
Yeah.
the ability it can do is so cool. And that's where it's like different pleasures. Like as a DM, I can explore that route and like give these players these crazy magic items. But as a player, I'm like, I got to stick within the realms of what I want this character to be doing.
Yeah.
So I can be consistent.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny. You answered my next question, but what do you think the most challenging thing is as a DM? Do you think it's catering to the items in the game? Do you think it's catering to the player's story in the game, making sure that melds well, and
I've
that
always-
goes well, everything else goes well?
If I had to take a shot in the dark before you answer, I just want to guess, and I want to say probably making the story cohesive, right? Like trying to, like that would be, I feel like that would be for me, would just be trying to like make a story and then trying to collectively have it make sense throughout the whole, like, so like even Brice just mentioned like 8 months plus of you playing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's what's hard, right? Because then you have that, but then on top of that, like if I go in and I have to fight all these monsters that just crush me in one hit, you know, over and over and over, but the story's nice, it's like, yeah, it's still kind of shitty.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Okay, I can see what
That
you're
can
getting at.
be, I mean, that's kind of challenging as creating a cohesive story, but when it comes to creating the cohesive story and that overarching narrative for a campaign, I don't find that as challenging because oftentimes I find, especially the group that we have now, is people who've been experienced understand that when going into D&D, there's certain agreements that you make as players, not as characters. That is, my character's going to be a person who wants to adventure. My character's going to be a person who has desires and goals outside of, you know, simple greed or simple, you know, the 7 deadly sins of pride and whatnot.
Sure.
It's got to be some sort of purpose to my character that I have to pursue, and that kind of makes it easier as a storyteller, as a DM, because they already want to achieve greatness in some way, and that's the agreement that we have coming to the table.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the hardest thing for me as a DM is probably those moments in between character interaction where you're trying to like exposit information to the characters via dialogue. Like it's easy for me to jump into a character's shoes and say like, okay, you know, me and Tucker are talking, I'm being this NPC and Tucker's character are having a discussion. It's easy for me to be in the mind of that one NPC at a time. But when I have to be like, you know, a council meeting, for example, and there's like 7 different counselors all having a discussion about this topical issue in the world, I have a hard time coming up with being those 7 people all at once, quickly adapting and finding out, okay, this new person said something that wasn't expected. How do I pivot? Which one of these 7 members speak up first to address that new issue that the players address? it's the minutia of that discussion and dialogue that is most challenging for me as a DM, because you just can't prepare for, like, yeah, maybe I have a speech and, like, you know, this back and forth banter that the NPCs are going to have pre-written. But what happens if that gets thrown out the window because one of the players says something crazy, or they bring information to light that the NPCs didn't know? It's like, how do you adapt to that in 7 different perspectives instantly in a way that still is compelling?
Okay, yeah, holy shit.
Time out. Give me
Fuck
10
a story.
minutes, and I'll figure it out.
Fuck a story. I gotta find out what I'm saying right now. Fuck.
Yeah. And this is coming from, you know, experience of just 2 sessions ago in the campaign we're playing right now, which is set in Eberron, one of the more popular settings for D&D. It's a city-based campaign in Sharn, which is like the city of spires. It's a city of towers that are a mile high and miles in circumference. Picture like Night City from Cyberpunk, and then times that by 10. Or picture like you know, like Minas Tirith in terms of scale. There's 500,000 people living in this city, and one of the most recent interactions they've had, they've been interacting with the Council of 12. So 12 elected individuals, and they're talking about this occupying enemy force in the city. And I'm like, how do I be 11 out of these 12 NPCs all at the same time, especially when the characters bring crazy information that no one knew prior to that moment? It's like, how do I adapt to that? Who responds first? Who says, you know, party, good job bringing this to us, or, you know, fuck you guys because that is against the city's interests right now, what you just did, kind of thing. It's so hard to adapt for.
Yeah, and you don't realize, like, till you DM, like, how important small folk are, and how it's like, you almost have to you never know what a player's gonna do. They could walk up and talk to the fucking meat cutter over there, and it's like, well, fuck, I put a meat cutter in there, I gave him a name, but he doesn't have a personality. Nothing. He's an empty shell.
He's literally selling sausages.
Yeah.
That's it. That's actually some of my favorite parts when I've in that recent campaign we played with Alex, is where some of us would do similar things to that, where we would like go up to someone and Alex is just like, he's just a guy. We're like, well, what does he do? He's just a guy.
Yeah.
We're like, no, like magic or like
what's his
no,
secrets?
yeah,
Tell us
nothing.
his secrets.
He's a man with 2 children who lives in this house. He's just trying to get by, and we're like, well, that's fucking boring. What'd you expect? You just asked a random dude on the street what he does, and we're like, well, I don't know.
As a DM, you're always
secret dragon or something.
Faced with the decision in that moment where there's a secret dragon NPC in the character in my story right now that is relevant, which is funny that you mention it. But as the DM, it's always
do they know?
One of the players do.
Oh, okay.
They realize that this.
How many players you got?
5.
Okay.
One of them's in and out of the session because other life stuff going on.
Sure.
Chris.
Careful. What if they listen to this?
Yeah.
He was pretty vague about that. Yeah.
But 5 players, and one of them knows that he's that this other.
one of the
NPC
players is a dragon.
No.
Okay.
One of the players, like their mentor, is a dragon.
Okay.
It's kind of like this sort of Diogenes style, like sleeping in a barrel drunk, but also like this really wise sort of passing on wisdom in the street preacher style.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
it also just happens to be like a cardinal or a
Someone
bishop
that you
of
would
the church.
overlook, but somehow knows a lot more than they should.
Yeah. Also a little bit of Mr. Miyagi style going on in terms of like mentorship, like, you know, oh, do my laundry, this is your lesson for the day, or oh, go clean the pews. But in reality, there's like this deeper meaning to what he's giving you, kind of thing.
Who's that one guy in the Stormlight Archives who
Wit?
No, I was gonna say Wit, but Wit's not someone you overlook, you know?
Right.
Wit's like when you notice Wit, you notice Wit. Who's the guy?
Taravangian.
Not Taravangian either. It's the guy who's a sword trainer, Zael, maybe?
Oh, Zahel.
Yeah, Zahel. Yeah. That's who that reminds me of, you know?
Totally.
People kind of like brush him off to the side, but then you know, Kaladin goes and talks to him, and it's like, this guy knows a lot more than he fucking should. What's going on here?
And bring it back to the point of, like, as a DM, it is hard to make the decision in that moment is, okay, do I make this street vendor suddenly more meaningful? Is he actually a spy that's placed himself
Now
here
there's an
specifically in the
opportunity
path?
placed in front of you. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or do I just straight up say to the party, like, look, guys, this guy isn't meaningful. He was just a fun little character I threw in because you were interested in him.
Yeah.
Don't think he's part of the main story and spend too much time in this game because he just has a kids at home that he needs to feed.
Yeah. He's just trying to do what the king says.
Yeah, he's just trying to, you know...
Trying to get by.
Just trying to get
want
by.
my
Trying
2
to make some
shekels,
income.
please.
Do you think like younger people or people that haven't got into D&D yet, do you think they should play board games first? Do you think you can go straight into D&D?
Do you think they need some like general knowledge of D&D before just jumping into D&D? Whether that be like how to play or like what is it?
I think that the most important thing for people getting into D&D for the first time, this is true not just for people getting to any D&D for the first time or any tabletop, but also a new group for the first time, is for there to be a session 0 where expectations are laid out in terms of like, hey, don't be a murder hobo. Don't be someone who just comes along and has no values outside of whatever drives me from one moment to the next. And granted, everyone's first character is that.
Sure.
You know, Fane was that.
Yeah.
My first character, Fane, he had no motivation. He had no meaning beyond...
He casts the net. That's all we know Fane to do.
He casts the psionic net, and he smashes people over the head with his big hammer.
Fane was great. I loved Fane.
Fane was fun, but it wasn't meaningful as a character to play because I didn't know what I was doing with him.
Oh, yeah. We were all... I mean, first of all, what a hodgepodge of a D&D session, right?
Yeah,
I mean, there was like 20 of us.
Yeah.
Oh,
like fucking 20 of us.
12 people at the
People out
session.
there right now, do not have 12 people in your D&D.
Yeah, don't go over. Try not to go over 5 unless you're like super big brain because it just gets muddy. Also, we're talking about it. My favorite thing at those D&D sessions was from Brice, and it was every time he started his turn, he goes, "Fane's turn,
Fane's turn."
Fane's turn."
It just became an echo where Matt would do it, and then you would do it, and the whole table would just Fane's turn. Cast the net.
And he cast the net every time, dude. We would all say it too. We would fucking throw parties when Fane cast the net.
It was the
dude.
instant.
We'd be like, is he casting the net? Yeah. He's casting the fucking net, dude. Let's go.
Cast the net.
Yeah.
But session 0 is important because that's all about setting the tone of the setting, setting the tone of what expectations are. You know, hey, bring a character to the table that wants to be part of a group. Don't do that lone wolf shit where the DM is stuck writing a whole separate campaign for one single character because he doesn't want to be part of the party. So, I mean, having those discussions is probably the most important thing for, again, a brand new player who's never touched D&D before, or role-playing games for that matter, and also for a person coming to a new group for the first time. Always have that discussion, always set boundaries, set outlines, you know, what is appropriate to talk about. You know, some people, you shouldn't talk about sexual assault as a theme because that can be really, you know, harmful to their emotional state. Yeah, dramatic and bad. Whereas some other people, you know, the group, like anything you want to discuss as a topic, let's do it. Let's do a grimdark campaign. We're all resilient enough to handle this. We all know it's just make-believe. It's not going to be something that triggers anything that we are, you know, have experienced in the past.
Oh, wow. I've got like 18 triggers, so yeah, almost any D&D game triggers me. So.
Yeah, I mean, so that's where it really comes down to having that discussion and being on the same page in terms of what we all want from it, because it's a group effort, and if you know nothing about D&D, you're going to see a lot of parallels to the things that you've already known in your life from video games. You know, going into D&D, I was like, this is just like KOTOR.
Oh yeah.
It's got dice, it's got wisdom rolls and stats that all affect my, you know, my abilities to do things. I immediately realized, like, going into it, I was like, it's that moment when we realized that all sci-fi pulls from Dune, and you're like,
yeah,
I know this already.
Yeah, you're like,
I know
this is
Taekwondo.
weird. I've been here.
I know karate.
Yeah,
I know Kung Fu.
I know Kung Fu. It's that
the
Matrix
fuck?
moment where it all comes to the forefront. You know, no idea how much influenced you've already been by it before you actually play it.
By multiple other things, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like at the very base of D&D, it's like what a lot of like video games use. You have stats. You're trying to accomplish something.
An RNG system to back up the repercussions of your actions.
Yeah. And then you just kind of fucking try to do what you want, you know? You want to punch in the video game? Well, how good's your strength? Did you look at it? Okay, you're going to punch hard. Or you're going to punch soft.
That guy might be better than you in that moment. Or you slip on a banana peel and you fall and crack your Ned. Your Ned right open.
Your Ned, yep.
Just crack your whole Ned.
Crack your Ned, right?
My Ned, crack your whole Ned.
Hi, crack your Ned. Wow. I do have a question about... So, put yourself and you're making a new D&D character, right?
My favorite moment.
Okay, you're creating a new character, but it's in this reality. What would its attributes be? And what would he, she, or they be fighting?
In the real world today.
In the real world today.
They'd be fighting capitalism.
Okay.
First of all, because capitalism is the root of all evil.
Okay. Yeah,
Exploitation of others for the sake of profit for the 1% is the entirety of the definition of evil.
Yeah.
Evil.
Stats I would want. For me, I usually, and this is true for playing any character in D&D these days, I usually like to go with the stats that I don't feel like I have in real life. Charisma, first of all. I don't find myself to be like the kind of person who walks up to anyone on the street and then immediately win them over with my words and immediately find some common interests. I'm not very good at that in real life unless I know them well. So I think I would max out charisma. And I think what would be second most meaningful in real life would be probably intelligence or wisdom. You know, intelligence is great because if you know enough,
knowledge is power.
Fit in any room. Yeah, knowledge is power. But wisdom's about how do you use that information.
Yeah.
You know, in real life, I wouldn't care about strength. I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm not some guy trying to break some world record for lifting weights, and nor is that like something lifelong meaningful in the same way that being charismatic can be.
Yeah,
You know,
nor
there's
are you
gonna be
going
a
to
point
take
where you
down
figure out-
capitalism with strength too. You know.
Yeah, I'm gonna go punch capitalism in the face. Yeah.
I love it.
We go
I
punch
love
Jeff
the sound
Bezos
of
right
that.
in the mouth.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Eat the rich with your
Send
teeth.
them right to the moon.
Yes. Oh, he's
So that'd be my stat array. Is I would dump strength. I would probably have dex okay, you know, somewhere around a 10, so a little
decent
bit above
amount,
average
right?
because it's good to be nimble on your feet, and I'm clumsy as it is, so I'd like to
Okay,
be not
yeah.
clumsy.
Yeah, it would be nice
Right.
to have a little bit of dex. Yeah.
I'd like to not be clumsy
so
in life.
when you go up and make that speech with your charisma, you don't trip right
Yeah,
when you get
'cause
on the
that's
fucking stage.
embarrassing.
Yeah.
But if
That-
my charisma's high enough, that can be endearing.
it could be. You
Like,
could
this
maybe
guy's a
like
real
make like a
person.
roll
Yeah.
at the end of it.
It's
and
the
be
Willy
like, "Ah."
Wonka sort of like, oh, he's falling on your
exactly.
face. Oh, he did a somersault because he played it off with a performance check.
You know, he made them do that. That was improvised.
Yeah, the kids didn't know.
Yeah.
The director knew,
Yeah.
but the kids did not
He's
know
like,
he was about to do
"Don't
that. So
tell
their
anyone."
faces was like authentic.
Like, what the
that's
fuck?
awesome.
It's such a weird thing.
Yeah, so that would be my stat array in terms of like if I would build a real life stat block for living in this world.
Mm-hmm.
Fighting capitalism.
Yeah,
You heard it here,
Fighting
folks. Watch out.
capitalism. I like
Fighting
that.
capitalism.
I think I'm gonna ask every single person that question.
I love it.
Yeah, even if they haven't played D&D, and maybe it'll get them into D&D.
They'd be
Oh,
like,
maybe.
what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
That could
Well,
be
hopefully
very
they
real
listened to
possibility,
this
too.
and learned.
What is
Yeah, maybe.
Constitution?
Also, I have to apologize to the audience. I muted my mic about sometime through, and then didn't
Fucking
notice when
kidding
it
me?
was
Jesus
unmuted.
Christ, Matt.
That's fine.
Shame.
I'm just the host.
Oh yeah, yeah,
okay. I'm
exactly.
responding to questions that don't exist for them.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah, we'll
Hopefully,
see-
I can
we'll
just
see.
turn the audio levels up at those points.
Yeah, we'll give it a lick.
But you have to
They won't even
turn
know.
you and Brice up at the same time, right?
Yeah,
So you would be really normal, and he would be very loud.
better than not hearing us.
I suppose. It's a weird.
They won't even know. They won't
Okay.
even have a clue by the
All
time
right.
I'm done with
Well,
it.
we kind of were the cat's already out of the bag on that one. You know, you kind of told them. You
Cut this, cut this, cut
apologized
this, cut this, cut
formally to them. Yeah.
Ripple delete. Any more last thoughts on D&D or DMing in general, or before we take our first break?
Yeah, advice for anyone. Don't be afraid to have fun. You know, don't
always
be
the key,
afraid
yeah.
to look stupid or sound silly. That was my biggest hurdle when I started playing with you guys.
Yeah.
Was I was worried that this accent I wanted to try would sound dumb. People would just laugh at me.
No.
And was
I mean,
worried that,
remember
like,
Jordan? You know, he had such a hard time with that shit.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
it's very
So-
challenging for anyone
Yeah.
who has, you know, any amount of social anxiety. It's very challenging because people like me and Jordan who have social anxiety. We go through our lives trying to navigate in a way that we experience the least amount of displeasure as possible. And that's the general way of life for anyone. But for us, it's more social cues that it's like I don't want to say something that gets me laughed at because I know what that feels like and it sucks.
Yeah.
But
Or the
when I-
feeling of feeling stupid or something, or
Yeah.
not knowing an answer.
Right.
Yeah.
But when I first started to get over that and just go with a ridiculous voice, you know, it was
Right.
high pitched and silly and
course.
an accent that didn't even match any accent in real life, and I loved it
Yeah.
because everyone else had a ball with it too.
Because we're all just trying to have fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
And once I started to realize that, my experience with D&D changed entirely. It went from being something like I kind of had a bit of stress and dread experiencing, and like I knew I was gonna have fun in the session, but I always like would be like up the night before, like, oh my god, I'm gonna sound stupid when I say something that just doesn't make sense. And once I started to embrace that, I realized how much fun it can be because we're all here for fun.
It's like
Yeah.
liberating, you know?
It is.
It's like
It
we're finding out that you can be.
is-
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. We kind of talked at the same time, and now I feel like we've come to an impasse, you know, with a fork in the road, and we both just went straight and ran
Go
to
ahead.
the signpost. I can't even remember what I was going to say, if you want me to be 100% fucking honest. Do you remember you said?
Yeah, it is
Okay, cool.
important to have a good group, I think.
Oh.
Like
Yeah.
that would be my advice to people is like start off with people that you know, because because I joined a group before that I was no one I knew, and it was really hard to like get into character
Yeah.
and to like find what I like and not be worried that they think what I think is weird or some shit like that. So you just find your group first and then start building from there.
Yeah, and I think also a really important thing in terms of being a good teammate is be encouraging, give good feedback. Like, hey, Tucker, what you did last session was awesome. I love that. Please do more of that. Or, you know, yeah, as the DM, that's something I try and do as often as possible after a session is text my players and say, hey, you know, in this session, the way you interacted with that NPC was really great. You did a voice that I didn't expect for your character today, and I love that. Keep doing it. Or, you know, just give positive reinforcements. That way people know that it's not landing on deaf ears and not getting taken the wrong way. And they're going to be more comfortable doing it in the future. And that's something that isn't really outlined in a rule book. It's not like something that's discussed like in the DM guide or player guide, like, you know, give positive reinforcement to your players, but it's in my opinion, one of the most influential things to get a more advanced experience moving forward and a more in-depth sort of like fleshing out of that role play.
No doubt. Finding someone that also enjoys what you're doing is just like that's what we're all here for, right? You know,
Yeah.
we're all here to have a good time because we all love D&D. Wouldn't it be nice to get a pat on the back for it too? Yeah.
For sure.
Really opens new worlds.
And that gives great inspiration for players too, because when I first started playing in that group with Levi and Tucker and Leech and all that, it was Tucker's monologues that was like, I want to do more dialogue-based characters, because you'd just pull this monologue on the spot. And I'm like, that's incredible. Like, you said this with no idea you're going to say it before you started speaking, and just said the most amazing thing in this moment. And that is what showed me that roleplay can be so much different from just rolling dice and just simply doing damage.
It's fucking, yeah.
Well
Thank you.
put.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. The only thing I remember from Levi's, the cool thing I did from Levi's fucking campaign was we were fighting something.
Was it the handcuff scene?
The handcuff
Cuff your
scene,
dude-
yeah.
yourself to this
That's
dude?
the only thing that I can remember. The only cool thing I can remember from the handcuffs.
adjudicator was this big sort of like fire golem.
Yeah. And we were fighting it, and my role was to handcuff him because these handcuffs got rid of like his magic or something. It like dampened his fucking power.
Yeah, there was this small being inside, this small highly magical being inside the
Yeah,
adjudicator
that's
that
exactly
like
what it
piloted
is.
it.
Yeah.
And we got him out of it, and he was about to like just nuke us, and you're like,
And I
Just
made a
cuffed him
roll
together.
to handcuff him, and Levi said my roll was only successful for one of his hands, so I just
Yeah.
handcuffed him to myself. And I said, "This is what you got to live with
You're
now,
with me now."
buddy. You're fucking with me
Yeah.
now."
I will always remember that scene because it was so cool, and you
That
have
was-
this great
yeah.
speech as you did it too. That you
I
just
don't
pulled on
remember
the
the
spot.
speech, but I appreciate you remembering it and
I
saying
just
good
remember
things
sitting
of
there
it.
with Leech, and we were just like floored in the back of our chair, like, "Oh my god, this
Yeah.
dude is a master at this." And
It was
he's-
fucking. It was. I was so in the moment too because Levi did that shit, and I was just like, I'm ready for this. I have an arm.
My body is ready.
Fool of a tuck.
All right, and now a word from our sponsors.
Oh, you got our sponsors.
Little break here. We're gonna use one sponsor first, and then we'll go in.
Okay,
Hang on,
which
I'll
one you
cut
going
this
first?
together.
Cut this.
Matt here from the Whatever Podcast to tell you of an amazing new offer. If you need anything remodeled or shaped to your image, well then you're in luck. Isaac's Angles offers custom designs for any furniture, big or small. They're partnering with us to offer you 50% off your first custom design and another 20% off your next order if you use our new promo code whatever on their website, isaacsangles.net. Not a real website. So bring these genius designs to life and head down to Isaac's Angles in Boring, Oregon, or on their website, isaacsangles.net.
Because I watch a streamer who has Magic Mondays where he'll open Magic cards just fucking periodically, and he opened this set. Forgive me, but I cannot remember what the name of it is, but they were all full art stuff,
Hell yeah.
and it was all so good that I just went and bought a couple packs because the art is just so fucking good, so
I know
fucking
what those
good.
are called, but I can't think of off the top of my head right now, because those are like, they do a release of that like once every year.
Yeah.
It's like within the last year, all the blocks that we've released, here's some full art versions
Yeah.
of that.
I know
and these ones.
the big thing for this set that the chase cards that people wanted were the full arts, but they were all in Japanese. Like they sold all the other English cards were in English, but the big hitters were in like Japanese or something like that. I know I pulled a decent card. It's called Demonic Tutor. And it wasn't the one that I wanted, the one that you wanted to pull though, because it was just the base card. But then there's like another one that looks like twice as cool. It's like all red and white. It's just a samurai, and it's a full art, and it's so good. But that set, Magic just in spades. They have the art. They have so much
And
better
even
art.
their cinematic trailers revealing the new like art blocks is what they're called. It's
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
Amstrad Trailers, so good. Like so
Really,
good
I've
quality.
never seen this.
Like comparable to the Arcane animation style.
Really?
Where it's like these people look like real people. Like you've got all the dimensions and little pixels and like just so incredible.
Yeah.
And they tell like little mini stories in these 3-minute trailers, trying to preview what the block is about. And I'm like, that is so cool.
Man, Magic's got it going on.
Yeah, I can't wait for Magic to get shows and movies and shit. It's a matter of time.
It's a matter of time.
It's a matter of time.
I'm surprised it hasn't happened already.
Yeah, they have books. I've read a couple books. They're pretty good.
Perfect. That's a nice segue into speaking about books.
Hey, I was gonna. Did you want me to do this now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to be coughing.
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Okay.
What's that?
Delta. It's like a THC substitute. If you want to dip.
After
Okay,
we're done with this, I will lose all capacity to speak intelligently because I don't smoke at all currently. When I'm looking for jobs, so
Very.
it'll hit me harder than
Yeah.
usual.
That's why I'm gonna take a little. Not too much.
Yeah, I'd be stuttering. Blah, 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 blah. Mush mouth.
Blah 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 blah. What'd you say? It was Urukai?
Okay.
What? How do you pronounce it?
Urukai.
Urukai.
Urukai is the tall dude, Sauron's white hand homies. The ones that are pulled from the base of the trees where the ancient elves are buried. So orcs are like something that naturally exists in that world, but Urukai are dark magic, ancient elf ancestors that are being resurrected through Sauron's power to serve. So they weren't like naturally existing in the world prior to Two Towers.
I'm guessing goblins are the same thing.
Goblins naturally existed as well.
That's
Goblins and
what I
orcs are
just natural creatures that existed. Right?
It's weird in the
Snark and Grumpkins.
Original writing, the earliest like Tolkien writings of The Hobbit, goblins and orcs were not a different race. They were the same race.
Oh.
But then they got fleshed out to be different because, just through, I imagine through the evolutionary path that they took, goblins being primarily underground, orcs being primarily above ground.
Evolution, if it can exist in Tolkien's world, yeah.
Exactly. Goblins would be smaller because they need to fit in those little tiny tunnels, except for the King Goblin, who, even in the books of The Hobbit, was never described as being as large as he was on screen. He was described as being large compared to a hobbit,
Right.
which could just be a human size.
The only Goblin King I remember is from the classic, the cartoon they made of. That one was always so good. I loved that one. But he was like real big. He was like fat, on a throne.
Well, it's more cinematic to show him like that, and that's
Oh
fun.
yeah, definitely. I think it looks better in my head too.
There's
When it's a big fat goblin, right?
Warhammer analog for that guy who grew so big because he ate part of a troll, and trolls don't die; they continue to regenerate. So if I cut a troll's arm off, that arm's going to grow into a whole separate troll.
Really?
So like in Warhammer, there's this guy who ate part of a troll, and it grew inside of him, and he grew like 10 times in size because of it. So he's like this giant fat dude who like just sits in the back of a chariot, just lounging around.
Yeah.
Like, as his army just draws him forth, and he's like, "To feed."
That reminds me the exact thing what you just said reminds me a lot of the stuff of the troll. Like, what are their names in the Mistborn series? Like the blue-skinned people.
Not Condra, the dog people. Kolos.
Yeah, the Kolos. Where you had to like spike
The
their
hemalurgic spikes.
you had to put the hemalurgic spikes in them, and they just like kept growing and growing
the
until they couldn't even
ruin-infused
fit in their
hemalurgic
own
spikes.
skin.
Yeah,
That's what that sounds
disgusting.
like.
Their faces are like,
Oh, dude, what an
like,
absolute disgusting description of a
But
creature.
then carrying that Kolos sword and,
Yeah.
and wielding that shit, and then fucking Sawzed growing to the size of a Kolos because he was
Yeah.
compounding his fucking, what was it, iron?
Yeah.
Compounding the iron, so he's like boxing the Kolos at that
Yeah,
gate.
dude. He's like,
That's
I
some
can't
of the
fight,
raddest
and then he
fantasy
fucking
shit.
the whole series is like, I'm not a fighter, and then he just hulks out. Dude.
Yeah,
He's just like,
holds the gate almost
yes,
alone.
I am. And then he becomes God.
And then he becomes God.
What series was that again? The Mistborn series?
Mistborn series, yeah.
Interesting.
That's some more Brandon
So
Sanderson
good.
stuff. It's one of his.
Brandy Sandy. Is
Brandy
my
Sandy.
shit.
Randy Sandy.
Yeah,
Sandy
he's
is
got to
my
be. He's got to be my favorite. I think even by a long shot too. He's just got so many works that are just so fucking good, man.
And he always dives
so
into my
good.
favorite tropes. I love the sort of like the chosen hero trope. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I love the the reluctant hero trope too, like
Yep.
Paladin, where I don't want to do this, but I'm literally in this moment the only person who can. I love the sort of redeemed hero like Dalinar.
Yeah.
from
Oh man.
Stormlight.
I love fucking
have
Dalinar.
my pain.
Dalinar has probably some of the best words that I've ever read in a long, long time.
He might be my favorite fantasy character.
Yeah, Dalinar is. He's good. He's definitely up there. Dalinar's so good.
Yeah.
And then the little thing he made, life before death. That was good. I don't know if that came from something. I felt like that maybe it came from something.
Life for death.
Yeah, strength before weakness. Like that was probably like a saying that was in real life.
I think it's.
I find it hard to believe
I think
he
it's
made
based
that
on
exact
like
thing.
Taoism, right? Like
Wouldn't-
living in
that
the
wouldn't
moment and
surprise
death of
me.
the self in terms of like serving not necessarily a higher purpose in terms of deity, but serving a higher purpose in terms of what you can accomplish in your life. That
Yeah.
is selfless in and of itself, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I get that, but my favorite thing that Dalinar says is, "What's the most important step a man can take in life?" The next one, always
the
the
next
next
one.
one.
Chills every time.
Every time, dude. That's my favorite. That's probably one of my favorite quotes I've ever read, just in general.
I love that one.
Such
I love
good advice.
Honor is dead, but I'll see what I can do.
Yeah,
So
that
good.
one's good.
So good. Just that you cannot have my pain, and then slams the hands together
dude,
and
and then he
opens the
fucking
two
makes
rifts.
yes, dude.
That was
just to save
to see that
everyone
on
too,
screen,
dude.
I will die to see that on screen. I will die for that
dude.
cause if I can just see that.
If
on screen
they
for
make
one
those
moment.
movies, I'm gonna be there. Like if they let me like camp out for like a midnight fucking thing.
Brandon Sanderson's basement.
Yeah, dude.
Egging him on like
With his
right,
5
bastard.
wives or however many he has, because he's Mormon.
He's doing he's writing a screenplay for Mistborn right now, or he has wrote it.
Sick.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
That's also good work too. I prefer the Stormlight Archives, but if you're gonna give me something, I'll take Runner Up.
Stormlight has got to be like, you got to do it in like Game of Thrones style, like 10 seasons. 'Cause
Yeah.
there's so much, and he's only gotten like 1/4 of the way through what he intends to write. Because there's gonna be 10 books, and each.
Oh,
book's
all
up for
Stormlight. Really? There's gonna be 10?
Yeah, the first arc.
Oh,
is-
there's a time skip though, right?
Yeah, there's
a
books,
time
and
skip.
the second is gonna be 5 books later in the future.
Yeah, and I don't know how to feel about that.
I love it.
I love it
Mistborn did
too,
well.
but it's like, god damn it, I love these characters so much, and if they're gone, it's like, god damn it.
Yeah.
God damn it.
But Brandy moves on with creating.
He
new
do.
characters
He
really
do be
well.
moving on.
Like Mistborn Era 2 is really good if you haven't read it yet.
That's the one
Wax
where-
and Wayne,
That's the one with no.
gunslingers.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. But like they still kind of stay in that vein too because what's his name? The big guy, the main who you thought was the main person in the Mistborn series in the beginning. What was his name? He was also an Alamancer?
The Lord Ruler.
No, it was the guy who the Lord rolled through a spear at him, killed him.
I hope someone's
Kelsier.
shouting right now.
Kelsier, yeah.
Kelsier.
But someone probably was screaming Kelsier because, yeah, he's still like a thing, like in the universe, right? Yeah. So like he's still doing things. So there's still that they have going on too. What's his name? Fucking he's what's her name? I'm just saying a lot of what's of.
Who, Vin?
No, the girl he's connected with now in the fucking Stormlight Archives. She's the main girl. I just forget
Shallan?
her name. Shallan. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on names. Pardon.
There's a lot of, I don't know how, are you caught up with Stormlight?
Yeah.
So have you read a lot of the Reddit in terms of like the theories of who is Thydakar?
Thydakar. It is
Lord of
Kelsier.
Stars.
It
It's
is
rumored to be Kelsier.
It is. I'm pretty sure it's knowledge now that it is. Like they
Words
made
of-
like that. There was that one side story that like explains everything that he's doing, right?
It's not outright confirmed where the name is dropped. Because I read the Arcanum Unbound, which is what you're referring to.
Yeah.
But it is very heavily implied. Because Elantris also crosses over, because in the end of book 4, when that little Seon, that little ball for communication that Sean's been having in that box,
Yeah.
that's from Elantris, which is one of his other standalone
It's one of his
novels.
first stories. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's also really good. But
Yeah, it is.
it's all starting to like mesh together in the Cosmere, where there's going to be this huge conflict, and Kelsier's like going to be one of these sort of like
The main proponents of it.
one of these sort of deity like beyond superseded life, like has become something else now. Arcanum Unbound, when the first time he meets God, Kelsier, and he just punches him in the face.
Yeah,
that's
dude.
the raddest shit.
Oh god,
This
Kelsier
dude-
was the dude. That's why. Oh man, that's why I can't. I've read all of Mistborn now, so I'm never gonna speak ill of Vin because she's a badass fucking character in her own right. But I'm always got a soft spot for Kelsier though.
See, Spook was my favorite.
Spook was fuck. So, I was hoping you wouldn't bring Spook up too because he's also right. It's like
was
those
the-
three are just like running side by side for
Yeah.
me in the race.
Became a 10 savant. It was
Yeah.
like, what do they call him? The Lord of Flames? The Lord of...
Yeah, because he was in the burning building and he came out.
Yeah. Or the Lord of... something like that.
Yeah.
That was so good.
And the fucking it was such a Brandon Sanderson always has a great job of making me able to see the character in my head, and then with Spook after that happened, he always had to wear the blindfold because his senses were too strong because of the allomancy.
Yeah. So,
I just like a blindfold. I like people who are blindfolded and still doing the damn thing.
not?
It's such a level of disrespect to anyone you're fighting. It's just like I need a blindfold to fight you, dude. I'm too powerful.
I won't even look in the eyes right now.
I don't
'Cause
even
I'm
need
so
to
good.
see you, motherfucker.
I thought about being blind today.
The results of that.
Well, you never know.
Your glasses look a little bit thicker than that.
Yeah.
Did you try?
I'm like,
Yeah, I got some.
I think I'd
Ebenezer
know-
this
Scrooge
is actually
glasses
my
on.
backup pair of glasses. My main pair broke again, and I have to like send it in for 2 weeks to get them to fix it.
You're
I'm just like,
reckless.
oh, dude, horrible. That's why
You're
I got the
reckless with
insurance.
glasses. I have
I
not.
sleep in them.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
He's-
jinx myself by
fall
saying
everywhere.
this, but I haven't broken a pair of glasses in like 10 years. I'm gonna jinx myself. I'm gonna break them today. I swear.
you're gonna trip
That's
off
exactly what's
stairs.
gonna
God,
yeah.
all
don't
over.
do that. Don't fucking do that. Yeah, but that Matt literally said his number one problem when it comes to glasses. He falls asleep sometimes just at
that's
the
why they're
drop of a
fragile,
dime.
Bro. Just,
These stand up to
go
time.
get some,
These are like a sports
go get some
brand
narcolepsy
kinda
medicine,
deal.
man. Go get
Where'd
diagnosed.
you get
We don't
this?
have insurance.
I
No, it
already
doesn't
did.
insurance any. Oh, good for you.
I had a sleep study done. The sleep study
Good.
was $14,000.
Yeah, I believe that.
Insurance
That's terrible.
covered $9,000.
That's terrible.
So I still owe $5,000.
This is why capitalism is bad and it should be overthrown because
Yeah, I agree with
it's
that.
wrong.
Doesn't make any sense to charge
Just
that
to
much
get
money for.
diagnosed with narcolepsy,
It's insane.
Yeah.
$5,000.
And that took what? 1 night sleep study, 2 nights sleep study.
One
We're in
night
the lab
sleep
for 1
study.
night. Yeah,
Yeah.
insane.
And fucking
Nothing should cost that much money.
We're just
to
trying to
live
help you.
better.
They're just trying to help you.
Well,
Why should
seeing
it be
is a
that much
luxury,
money?
being awake is a luxury.
Oh yeah, I'm so
Functioning-
sorry.
Teeth are a luxury.
Yeah,
Teeth are a luxury. It's a luxury bone.
yeah. It's
I'll
a
have you
luxury
know.
to be alive.
How
Which
you
is
know?
actually,
It's
no,
a
that's
luxury
kind of
bone.
a
Teeth
real
are a
sentence.
luxury bone. You don't deserve to have teeth unless you
No,
can
not
afford
at all. How dare you try to take care of things that are inside of you?
them. Capitalism's wrong.
Yeah, I'd agree with
It's
that.
inherently wrong.
I'd agree with that. Then again, I would also listen to Brice is what I would say because I'm not well informed about these subjects whatsoever.
I'm informed just so it can fuel my rage, so I can
Right.
continue existing. Because if I'm not mad, I'm not living.
I'm not
Which
mad,
is
I'm
fair.
not moving,
Which is
baby.
fair.
If I'm not mad, I'm not moving. I'm not
Which is
getting up
fair.
out of bed in the morning. That's
Some
not
people's
mad.
got to have. We all got different strokes for different folks.
Ready to
Whatever
unload at
drives
any
you.
moment.
Tucker, you said you had some questions for Brice?
Oh yeah, sure. I can easily do. I wanted to kind of piggyback off of the last subject and ask if there was one setting that you could play D&D in from all the books that you've collectively listened to, read. Where would you like to play? You don't even have to DM it. You could just be a player in this universe.
Out of anything, is this
Out of all of them, out of all
fantasy
anything that you
or
could
anything
think
at
of,
all?
anything that you could think of.
Oh my god.
Doesn't have to
Well,
be.
we
Oh my
can
God.
keep it strictly to fantasy. That makes it easier for you.
I
Should
was gonna do that
fantasy-
because usually I know we've discussed that's usually what you do read. You don't
Yeah.
stray too far from that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not reading any
Yeah.
historical documents? Like,
I'm reading Cervantes. Cervantes is Don Quixote, but that's not
Yeah.
fantasy.
If you
so
want,
much,
hey,
but anyway.
I'm saying
Um,
out of all the books you've read,
I'm
because
t-
we both probably know it's gonna be a fantasy one
Yeah,
because
so
no one
we're
wants to
fucked
live in
out.
fucking reality.
No,
That's
I
why
don't
we're
wanna- I
here.
don't even want to think of it. Fuck horror, man. I like gothic horror, but I don't like horror because I am way too easily scared. And I stay up at 2 a.m. and I'm like, it's all real.
Oh,
It's all real. I'm haunted. I'm in the movie Hereditary right now. There's gonna be a cult naked in my house ready to skin me alive.
I
And,
think about a ghost lady like staring at my bed as I'm sleeping. a
bro,
lot
I
of
watched The
times.
Shining once, and I have never forgotten that bathtub lady's face.
Yeah.
But anyway, to answer your question, I have 3 big.
Yeah, if you
choices.
can't narrow it down, please don't be beholden to
Big
one.
choices,
I
yeah.
got 3
Yeah.
big choices here.
Yeah.
I know I just said I don't like horror, but one I would love to play, and it'd be more fitting for a short-term campaign than a long one, would be Stephen King's The Mist movie. Because I love that movie, and I love that setting. It's terrible. There's these
Giant
terrible
bugs.
eldritch horrors that, you can't even imagine because they're the worst thing you can think
Ew,
of.
Eldritch horrors, dude.
Oh.
I'm staying away from that
Love
shit.
that.
But okay.
That would be the third on the list in terms of
Okay.
priority. Number 1 and 2 are pretty much tied. One of them is naturally Stormlight because I love how that magic works. I think it's so much fun. There's so much you can do with it, and I love the idea that your magic only progresses as you as a character does.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have emotional complexity, you don't get the magic.
No.
And if you don't have brokenness in your past, you don't get to really drive the story forward in the same way that otherwise you can. And also there's so much fleshed out hard rules how that magic works that I love. It's not vague. It's not just wishy-washy. There are restrictions to what you can and can't do within that. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I also really appreciate how Sanderson does a good job in the Stormlight archives of even making people who don't have the magic be very important and still powerful.
Adeline's awesome.
Ash, there it is. Yeah.
Another answer would be by an author named Brian McClellan, who used to actually understudy of Brandon Sanderson. So
Okay.
he was his tutor.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And he wrote a series called it's Flintlock Fantasy. So it's very much that sort of black powder rifles are just now becoming a thing, and magic is interacting with that in weird ways. Powder Mage.
Yeah, yeah.
And an incredible series. There's 2 trilogies right now involved in that series, and a couple novellas, as just like Sanderson likes to do. But there are different types of magic within that. There's these standard sort of mages that can do, the elemental sort of evocation kind of magic that we're used to and familiar with.
Yeah.
But there's also something called powder mages, which their magic is based around gunpowder. So I can snort a charge of gunpowder like a drug, and then take that potential energy inside of me and feel it into, for example, I could do a couple things. If you have a bag of gunpowder on you for your rifle. I can detonate that from across the map and just
yeah.
blow your arm off.
Oh god, but do people have to have learned from that?
Yeah.
I'd hope. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So they've got like different types of weapons that don't use the same type of gunpowder that can be detonated like that.
Oh, it's a certain type of gunpowder.
But
Interesting.
there's also like ways to the powder mages can interact with the world where they can, use it to like Wanted movie style, like curve their bullets. There's one guy called Daniel Two Shot, where he'll load 2 bullets into his rifle, and then he'll do a charge of gunpowder right before he shoots, and then he can blow them in separate directions. So like one goes and headshots this dude, and the other goes opposite direction, headshots that dude.
Okay.
Or for example, like I can make your weapon misfire as you're going to shoot because I'm a powder mage, and I can like detect the gunpowder in your weapon, and now explodes in your hands, and the bullet goes backwards instead of forwards and kills you.
Oh, okay.
Or like at one point, one of the guys named Tomas, who is Tano's dad, during this sort of French Revolution style setting, he's inside this building as these huge barrels of gunpowder about to go off, and there's also a bunch of like other dignitaries and royals inside the building that are going to be killed in this assassination attempt alongside him. He manages to like redirect all that energy outwards instead of inwards. So instead of killing these people, like it nearly kills him doing it, but he manages to blow it outwards so that way it like saves 90% of the people there. In this really epic moment where it's like this dude almost kills himself with this effort of sheer willpower and magical potential, but it's just so rad to think about like what all you can do with that.
Yeah, like there's possibilities are always fun to read about.
Yeah,
because like when you can like, I find myself doing it a lot where it's like, you kind of like picture yourself, like you're reading it and you're like, obviously this is a story, but it's like, what if I was there doing something too?
Yeah.
And it's always fun to like think of like the possibilities that could be like through your character, and then you read more, and then it's even cooler to find out that they picked up on that. Yeah. That he was like, hey, I thought of that too, and this. It's always so much fun.
And there's also like other types of minor magic styles. There's like blood magic where like I can use like voodoo magic where if I have a vial of your blood, I can marionette you essentially. And, like, mold you like a puppet.
So even just regular base magic is a thing throughout this universe. Okay,
There's something people call knacked. They don't have magical powers, but they have something special about them. Like one guy who's just like... he's partially disabled, sort of detective, similar to Glocta in First Law Trilogy.
Yeah.
Where he is all about the sort of mundane style of like discovering things. He's going to question you and interrogate you and do what he has to. But his knack is that he remembers everything. He has an eidetic memory where he doesn't forget a single moment of anything at all.
Okay.
And that's a really cool sort of like detective arc.
Yeah.
In terms of like, how can you fool a guy who remembers every single word that you said to him last week when he interviewed you?
Yeah.
He's going to notice those discrepancies. He's going to notice where
so you have to stay
changed.
Fucking same story, same words, everything.
But there's actually a rule set for this setting within the Savage Worlds game set, which is its own sort of like... It's kind of like how D&D also has the Pathfinder series, which is not D&D related or Wizards of the Coast, but it's made by a different company with slightly different rules.
Yeah.
There's Savage Worlds, which has a module for this. And I own the module for it, and I would love to play it, but I have no idea anything about Savage Worlds, and I don't know anyone else that knows the setting that would enjoy it the way I would. So I'm just like sitting on it like, one day.
One of these days. I'm waiting for it. I'm fucking waiting for it. So in recap, what was the third again? The third was the creepy
Mist.
place. The Mist, yeah, Stephen King. And then we'd go Stormlight. Is it the tie between the first and second?
I think Stormlight would be more accessible for me to play because I know more people who know Stormlight. Like, you know it, JT's read it. I know the people who've read it enough to where I can get a game running where people would be like, I love this, I know what I'm talking about here, and I'm familiar.
Yeah, but if you did, just in, just as... drawing a blank on the word. But if you could, you would rather play the powder mages and such.
I think
if you had people that knew about it like as much as they did with the Stormlight.
I think so because I love Flintlock Fantasy.
Yeah. I mean, that's such a cool concept too. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
I remember I was talking to you a little bit when you first started that, and you said, I'll let you know if I recommend it when I get through it. Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
And it did
absolutely
everything
incredible.
that you said it does sound really fucking cool. So I'll have to. Who writes that? Who writes that again?
Brian McClellan.
Brian McClellan.
My three favorite authors, all their first names start with B-R-I. Brian McClellan, B-R.
Yeah,
Brent Weeks and Brandon Sanderson.
Brent Weeks. Oh yeah.
Brent Weeks is also really good with Lightbringer series.
So you're BR. guy.
Yeah,
BR
my
head.
name is
huh?
Brice. You know, it's real. it's
Holy
almost-
shit!
Battle Royale.
It's almost like, you know, I self-fulfilling prophecy where I see these names and I'm like, I'm going to pick this guy up because
Yeah, these writers must be smart because they have BR in their name like me.
It's relatable. Not the smart part, but just the letters of the name is. I look for patterns in life, and it draws me in the direction I want to pursue.
Speaking of patterns, I'll tell you a brief little anecdote here before we get to the next question. I was playing this game called Jackbox with my girlfriend's family, and it's like extended family. So this kid is like a cousin that's married in, I guess. And we're doing this pattern recognition game, and I'm telling you, this pattern was not like the fucking easiest pattern I've seen. It was like up here, over here, down here, 2 over here, like 3 here, and like whatever. He gets 100%. Looks at me, I got 88%. He goes, "You idiot." I was like, "What?" He's like, "It's just pattern recognition. Duh."
Sorry, not all
And I'm like,
savants.
Oh,
That's why I was like,
Excuse
dude, is this Einstein right now?
Sorry, we didn't take
Fuck.
an IQ test every single day to practice for this, asshole.
Holy shit.
I mean, that's.
So I just looked at Katie. I'm just like, "Hey, believe that."
Can you believe that? Can you believe this asshole?
I
over
just
here?
couldn't believe he got 100%. He's like, "Yeah, it's just pattern
I
recognition."
think he cheated.
It's just pattern.
I think
right?
he
Like,
cheated.
fuck
I
you,
think he
man.
may have done it before.
Anybody
I
who
think he cheated,
starts
yeah.
a sentence with "it's just" can eat my dick.
Yeah.
Stop.
It's
like-
what we're about to say
It's
next
like,
is just
oh,
rude.
Yeah.
It's just rude, is what it is.
Oh, I'm such an
pattern
idiot.
recognition.
How
No,
dare
What's that?
It's just string theory.
Yeah.
It's just quantum computing.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't get it? You don't understand the 12
moron.
dimensions?
Oh,
Really?
no, I don't.
Oh, that's
What
going
an
to lead to
asshole. Fuck
something
that
else
guy.
that I won't get into now, but I want people to remind me to come back to.
Okay,
2
cool.
plus
I
2
will.
equals 5.
I hope this guy listens to it. Hey, whoever said that to Matt, fuck you.
Yeah. Also, when we circle back to this, it's gonna be some. It's gonna be some shit when we start off the conversation with Matt. 2 plus 2 equals 4.
Yeah, I know. And I'm getting everyone excited now. It's kind of like a trailer, like a preview.
Yeah, a little bit, like a little precursor.
Oh, man, what is that guy going to finagle next, huh?
Yeah. Who the
Um,
fuck knows?
You have
So,
another question for Bryce?
yeah, I got plenty.
Oh, nice.
We're gonna piggyback off that last one that we piggybacked from the last conversation. Is similar question. If you personally had to live in one of these universes, would you choose one of the same top 3 that was in your top 3, or would you go somewhere else? Because now it's you yourself.
Am I living in this universe with my current skill set, or with, like, for example, the skill set of a character from that universe?
No, your current skill set, because I want to make it your current skill set, because if you got to pick, I feel like it would probably be the same top 3 that you had, right?
No.
It'd be close.
If I had the skill sets of the
Okay, let's
character
make it a
in that
two-parter
universe-
question then. If it was just you, your normal skill set that you have, and like obviously you have no, well, I shouldn't say obviously, maybe you do have magical powers and I just don't know of, but you're just Brice. You're Brice Moore in this universe. Which one would you like?
Now that's going to come down to,
How much it affects a normal person?
yeah, it comes down to a question of, you know, what's the lifestyle of an average person? Because I'm average at best.
Right, sure.
Like, sure, I'm good at some things, but as a person overall, I'm not like a savant. I'm not like a
Yeah.
Stephen Hawking sort
Right
of.
there
like-
with you, buddy.
You don't know that.
So I'd
they didn't
say-
know that.
I think he might know after like 28 years of living.
How's
It might
math
have-
for
it
you?
might have
Math
came
easy?
up.
My job search alone is showing me that I'm not as good at saying as I'd like to be. But to answer the question from my current, like, if I were to be the same stat block I exist within right now as a human being in that universe, probably Star Wars.
Star Wars?
Probably Star
That's
Wars.
that's a safe bet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
like
you can
that.
be an average dude
Yeah,
and be in the
just
Star Wars.
feel like
You can
an
be an average
imperial
dude and be Han
citizen.
Solo.
Just live in Coruscant.
Yeah.
Just live the good life in
just
some decent apartment.
Yeah.
and,
plowing your sand.
And it's like
Yeah.
you have the literal whole universe to live across
Yeah.
too.
An
So
average person can hitch charter across the galaxy on
and just see another planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
It
actually
wouldn't
that's
be-
really good. I like that a lot.
And
I
it-
wasn't thinking Star Wars.
And I'd pick probably a timeline that isn't as dangerous. I wouldn't be like
Yeah, that'd probably
smack in the
be-
middle of like the
The
Republic
Clone
Empire
Wars and all
or
that
Clone
stuff,
Wars
yeah.
like that. So I'd probably choose
Maybe-
something like that.
I don't know. Do you
yeah,
go
Clone
further
Wars was
or
not a good time to be around.
do you feel go further and back in time or further forward in time after Clone Wars to be safe?
You just have to
That's
deal
a
with
hard
Kylo
question.
Ren.
I'd probably say I'd choose High Republic because based on what I've been reading for the new book series, there's a lot of Jedi and not a lot of baddies.
Is that good? Because High Republic's in the past.
I like it.
And
It's-
I was
it's like
looking to read
500
into
years
that.
prior to the movies.
Yeah.
roughly.
Yeah, I was looking to read
If you
read
get too
that.
far back though, you're in like Old Republic, like Knights of the Republic, and there's a lot of Sith everywhere. And it'd be,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
she's
what
just
I'd
being
be
abducted
worried
by a
about,
Sith
right? Yeah.
and then tortured for funsies.
Anybody who's played a KOTOR game goes, I don't know if I want to be that
Yeah.
far back
They're
in the
gonna-
past. Those guys are very scary, and there's not just 2 of them.
And the same could be said too far in the future if we're talking like old expanded universe too, because like the times of like Jason's.
Yeah,
Jason's
who's
Hill
those
is really
bad guys they
bad.
fight? They're like really weird. They're creepy.
Yeah, the Yuzan Vong.
Yeah, they use on Vong,
I
and
don't
they
know
like
them.
they like get in your mind
That's
and
the worst
stuff,
time to live.
right? Yeah, no.
Mind
That's why I
benders.
would be hesitant
They
about.
flay you alive and then wear your skin for funsies.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they have like that stuff with like I just said, like getting your like fuck with your mind, like control you through your mind and shit. No, I'm a hard pass on that shit.
Yeah.
Anything where I would have to like realize my body's getting piloted by something else and I just have to watch, hard pass.
For sure.
No, thank you very much, dude.
So that'd be my
Ugh.
answer for that question.
Star
in terms
Wars,
of
I like that.
current
That's
skill set.
yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of wonders you can see as a normal
Yeah,
person. There's
you
a
can
lot that
definitely just
do.
live your life and be far away from Sith and Jedi, but like that universe seems like not a bad place.
Yeah.
I mean, there are bad planets, but there are also plenty of good planets where like, oh, okay,
I would just hope I would be born on a good one.
yeah, and then you get. It's
Yeah.
basically I could see it as like now like Earth, just like in the future if we did things right, you know, like space traveling and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Without capitalism.
Right. Yeah.
Without capitalism.
There might be one planet in the Star Wars universe that runs off capitalism.
To live in a world
Because
though,
democracy is in one of them, so that's gotta be, you know, he says it. I love
democracy isn't always
democracy.
hand in hand with capitalism now.
I feel like they're close.
Because you got democratic socialism, which is a lot better for the average citizen.
I don't know enough to say no.
Well, countries like Switzerland and Sweden who have like a higher happiness rating per average
Yeah.
citizen because they don't have concerns like, oh my god, I'm crippling debt for the rest of my life because I had
Because they get
meningitis
paid.
at 16.
I actually
Yeah.
went to Switzerland recently, and they get paid a lot of money because everything is very expensive there. Very expensive.
It is. Even that Swiss Army.
When I was working, with a gentleman who lived in Switzerland. He's like, yeah, people who come to Switzerland look to have a good time, and then they realize they don't make as much money as people who live in Switzerland, so they don't get to enjoy it as much. But so yeah, okay, I see what you're getting at. Yeah,
But to answer the second part of the question here, if I were to be in any universe with any skill set
that you
like-
can choose.
Yeah. It'd be hard. This may just be my easy answer because the most recent read I had
Sure.
was, Gentlemen Bastards.
Oh, that's a good
and
one,
Just
yeah.
Locke Lamora style of being able to spin a lie and in a moment's notice be hit by inspiration of how can I,
Spin this lie into a bigger lie.
yeah,
that
and
gets
just
me more
win
money.
everyone over.
Yeah,
Not to mention the cool magic that you find out is in that world later on.
yeah. Which
being
I
like
didn't
a-
expect, by the way.
Yeah.
Did not expect that.
That
I
was
thought we
wild.
were just gonna be, happy-go-lucky, fucking, we're fucking scamming everybody.
Nice bird, asshole.
Yeah, we're just conning everyone, scamming everyone, all the way to fucking our goal, and then
Yeah.
there's random magic, and I was like,
Yeah, I love the intrigue style. So having that sort of intrigue skill set in a world like that would be really cool.
yeah, I like that. I mean, that's a good universe too, because it seems fun. It seems like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'd want to be in like a father change situation where
Yeah.
I've got a lot more
You've
going
got
on than I even
some,
realize.
you've got some mentor who's teaching you things that you don't know if we're gonna be useful, but he seems to say they're gonna be make or break here, and then the next thing you know, he's dead, and you're like,
It's you and your homies
yeah.
till the end.
And you're
Yeah,
like, all that
you're
stuff you
homie.
fucking taught me is really fucking helpful right now. The treasure underneath the fucking church right now.
Yeah.
We're good, boys. Who are the twins?
Kalo and Galdo.
Kalo and Galdo, man. I love those guys, and I don't know how to how are we doing this, right? Do we do spoilers here? I don't know. I feel like I've already
you
ruined.
guys already.
I've
spoiled
already
this
ruined
for
a
him,
lot, so I don't know how much farther I want to wade out into those waters.
I can put a spoiler at the beginning.
This is
Sure.
a 30 minutes in spoiler alert. Everything we said up to this point is a spoiler.
Yeah.
We are sorry.
So
Cut that out. Put it at the beginning of the
cut it,
episode.
Cut that.
Cut that. But when those two died,
Tragic.
But
I love that it kept bringing them in through flashbacks.
Yeah.
Like, that gave me some solace because I cried when they died.
I was
I
very upset.
literally
when they
cried
died.
when them and
those
Ben
were
died.
two. Those two.
Spoiler,
I
spoiler,
love. I
spoiler,
mean,
spoiler.
yeah. Spoiler. I love Locke and Sean, but those two probably were my favorite.
Yeah.
Carlo and Galdo,
Speaking
dude.
in unison, all
Yeah.
creepy like, and also when they got older and started feuding, calling each other cue ball and shit.
Yes,
and
dude.
stuff.
They were just there.
So funny.
That's who I would be if I was in that universe. I'd be one of those fuckers. I'd be
would-
Carlo or Galdo. That's who I would be.
love that.
100%.
So I feel like I relate the most to Gene Tannen in terms of just I love in any writing, but especially in fantasy, this sort of fat kid who has a lot more skills than anyone at first assumes.
Yeah, people sleeping on the fat kid.
Yeah, people sleeping on the fat kid. This kid has glasses. He's fat. He's an accounting background, but in reality, he's one of the best swordsmen that you've ever met.
Yeah, and the next thing you know, he pulls out a hatchet that you didn't know he had.
So rad. The Wicked
and
Sisters.
Yeah, dude. And it's fucking in
That
your
sounds
skull.
dope.
Yeah, the Wicked. John Tannen and the Wicked Sisters are fucking dope, man.
Two hatchets that are like mirrors of each other, and they have like this. The lethal end, of course, the sharp end, and like this sort of ball peen on the other side where he just cracks skulls open with it. And
He fucking mangles people. John Tannen is the dude. John Tannen, man.
Yeah.
Well, I also liked. I feel like this is cool because I feel like a lot of my questions we've already we're getting to. You know, I was gonna ask you what's the most recent thing you read, and then we came up to this, but. Since we're on the vein of the Lies of Locke Lamora and such, how'd you feel about all the boat stuff?
And
I personally, I'll say I loved it.
like book 2 or
Yeah.
in general.
In book 2, since it's primarily you're on a boat a lot of the time.
I read enough other fantasy or low magic fantasy settings that involve ships that I was already comfortable with the idea of most of the book happening on a ship.
Yeah.
Like I already knew enough about like the bow and prow. And when you guys were talking in one of your podcasts, like you couldn't come up with the word for stern of the ship. I was like sitting in my room listening to the podcast, like it's stern. It's the stern.
I think I said bow and Matt might have said stern.
Yeah.
And then the word we were looking for was bridge, but
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
talking about
But
spaceships. But I like the. Are you muted?
No.
No. Are you talking
I
to
really
me?
like the sort of ship setting because I like when a setting can be sort of constrained to a small environment and still have a lot of stuff moving forward.
Yeah, I liked it a lot because usually, like when you get into that type of setting where it's like you don't have a lot to work with, it kind of gets flat. So you can tell like the author kind of like rushes it on a little bit. But this was a phenomenal piece into like. He said, I'm pretty sure in one of the audiobooks it says that he did a significant amount of fucking research on boats.
Yeah.
So it felt like this was how you would live on a boat. And it was really interesting. I didn't know a lot of the stuff the problems that they ran into until I read that, and I was like, what?
One of the best parts about using a sort of vehicle of story in both a literal and figurative sense here as a ship is that it's a small environment, and because of that you have to look inward in terms of character interactions, and that's where you get the most character development because you don't have a lot of world development going on because it's more so about the discussions that are happening, how these bonds are creating and breaking down, and developing further, and Gene Tannen falling in love with the ship's first mate.
I'm really bad with the fucking names, I guess, in this book, in this series. But he does, yeah, I do, yeah, and then she,
I really like that.
unfortunately,
Spoiler.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
But I really like that sort of moment for introspection in especially such a large trilogy as that. Well, it's going to be a series, but currently a trilogy. For it to be sort of bookended by these huge events on the first and third book, and the second book to be more contained in that way, where you can see how this relationship is developing without the twins, without Bug being along, it's just Locke and John.
Yeah.
And kind of seeing, how much they're willing to bend what they want for each other's wants and continue to grow together instead of like just as individuals. I love that.
Yeah. He also, Scott Lynch. Scott Lynch also does a really good job of changing settings a lot, but still making it feel like home. Because he does like a lot of big major changes. So it's like in the first one, they're primarily in the city. They were, I don't know that city. I can't remember the name of it, but it's just the main city that they start out in, and it's primarily that. Then you get to the second book, and you're on a boat for a long portion of time, and then they're doing like the casino heist, which is also really fucking good. Yeah. Then you get to the third one, and they're actors now.
Yeah,
and he did a really good job of changing a lot of the stuff, but we're still with Locke and John. It's still these two being who they are, but somehow they're doing it on a boat. Somehow they're doing it as Ocean's 11, and then somehow they're doing it as Shakespeare, I fucking guess.
Yeah.
Like, what can't these guys do?
That dude wrote a whole play
Yeah.
for a series of flashbacks.
Yeah.
That is talent.
Yeah, it's impressive.
He wrote a whole ass play.
It's certainly impressive.
Like, line for line, like it's not just like, oh, and then they did the scene. He did line for line of what's happening in that scene in the book within a flashback. I'm like, this is inception of writing now.
It's phenomenal stuff.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And I would love to. I can envision that whole play in my head because it was so well written. Not only that, but like I can envision the inn they were staying at so well. Like in that little secret smuggling room that Locke and Sabbatha were, fooling around, and I can envision this whole because he does such a good job of explaining the sort of the scenery that I can see it all in my head so easily.
I feel like he always did a good job of giving you enough. Right? He never gave you too much, so you're sitting there for fucking like 5 minutes of a narrator telling you what the fucking inside of this room looks like. But he gives you enough that it's like you said, I'm here. I'm in this room. I can see it. He doesn't give you no muss, no fuss. It's just like you're in the room, and you're like, this is exactly what it needs to look like. Does good stuff with all of his setting stuff.
It lets you fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
That's what the best writers do. That's what Lovecraft did with the sort of idea of, I'm not going to describe the monster to you because whatever you can imagine is going to be worse than whatever I can say. I'll give you the outline, I'll give you the rough shape of it, and then you can fill in the blanks, and it's going to be terrifying.
And it's going to be disgusting
and the best
because
authors
you made it. Because you made it with your own fears.
Yeah.
So.
Don't spend 20 pages describing what the Lennons looked like in that room. Just give me an outline, tell me what kind of class this person's living in, and I can fill in the blanks.
Yeah. Based on what I know about the person.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that you're looking forward to? Any series that's coming out, either a standalone, it could be anything. It could be by itself. It could be another part of the series.
How about Game of Thrones?
I would say more things that look to actually be coming to fruition.
Real things.
Yeah.
Real things.
Tangible things. They can see an end to.
Imaginary
A couple things.
Okay.
Brian McClellan's Powder Mage has been... He wrote the script for the series. It's going to be
it's
a
going to be
show.
on what? Do you know?
The last was rumored, and this isn't like any sort of set contract deal that was signed, but HBO was rumored to be taking it up.
Okay,
and I
that's
would
good.
love to
That's
see an HBO
prosperous.
budget.
That's prosperous.
But right now it's kind of like shopping around for studios.
The right setting.
Yeah, the problem is with like Mistborn, for example, that script has been written for the show or movie or whatever Sanderson came up with, but it got purchased and then studios will sit on it because it's more profitable for them to buy it and then miss out on the opportunity even if they never make anything. So I'm excited for, Powder Mage to get some sort of live action interpretation because it would be the next big HBO thing if it were to happen. Because the writing's that good.
Calling it now. You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen.
If it happens by HBO, it's going to be the next big thing. But,
you heard it here, ladies and gentlemen.
Other than that, Scott Lynch's next book is going to be incredible whenever it comes out.
Something of Emberlane. Supposed to come out in October, unfortunately.
It's supposed to.
It's like the 12th or the 22nd of October, I forget. And it ended in a 2.
Yeah.
But I'm also waiting for that one too.
Yeah. Of course, Sanderson's next books. Cytonic just came out, but I haven't gotten into Skyward just yet.
I haven't either. We talked about that a little bit, and we both haven't really looked into it. But I mean...
Yeah, that dude writes a lot.
He writes a lot, and it's probably all good. So that's why I probably...
He writes a lot.
I've read everything except for Emperor's Gift and Skyward series, and it's all good.
Yeah.
Like I read every other morsel of writing he's come up with, and it's
just phenomenal.
Don't I like a series by him, right?
Yeah, you did. It was the one where they're superheroes.
No, the Reckoner series.
Yeah, the Reckoner.
I didn't like that one.
That's
Tucker didn't like it either.
Boys.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as The Boys.
It's The Boys.
I love The Boys.
It's The Boys for kids.
It's The Boys for kids.
It's The Boys for kids.
It's definitely a self-insert, and he even admits it to this day that the character in that is a self-insert where it's the...
really? The main character's him?
Yeah, the non-powered, but still somehow getting one over on every like godlike being that exists here.
Yeah.
And even Brandon Sanderson will, like, at least what I've read is he kind of admits that it was too much of a self-insert that it stopped being compelling.
Yeah.
For what an average reader would experience. That was kind of my experience with it. I was like, I get it. It'd be cool to be that guy that's like, pulled one over on you, Steel Heart.
The man, yeah. But...
I read the whole series. I listened to the whole series. And that might be the case, that listening to it compared to reading it. Because some series I find that to be the case, is that if there's a good narrator, boy, howdy, do I like that.
Oh, yeah. Good narrators really can make or break a fucking...
Yeah.
What would be if you? I know you listen to a lot of audiobooks. Do you have a favorite narrator?
I do more reading than I do listening when it
Okay.
comes to novels because
So Brice is your favorite reader.
most of the things I listen to are going to be podcasts because I usually listen to those when I'm painting. But my problem, the nice thing about podcasts when painting minis is that I don't have to focus on the podcast. I can miss a subject of what they're talking about and still catch up with the next subject.
Yeah.
But like an audiobook, if I am not paying attention, trying to get that little stupid eyeball in, it takes all my focus for the next 20 minutes.
Sure. And you miss
and
out
I
on
miss
something important.
A character chapter, then I'm kind of like scrambling to get caught up. And I also like about, whether it's digital media like Kindle where I can
Yeah.
save a page or a physical book where I can like
mark
dog ear
it. You can physically see your progress.
I love to be able
like
to
that.
I love to be able to go back quickly and reference things because like if I hear a line in an audiobook, it's not always easy to go back and listen to that line again
No.
and decipher it. Whereas like the Kindle app is incredible. It's got a feature called the X-ray feature where you can highlight a name and it'll show you like the first line in which that character's name was introduced in the book.
Really? Holy
And
shit.
you can like click on like other lines with this character, so I can look at
come a long way.
Yeah, I can look at like an entire biography of this character up to this point with a quick click on the Kindle app.
Damn, that's interesting. I used to have a Nook where I used to read some on a.
Oh, black and white one.
Yeah,
Those are nice.
it was nice, but it wasn't anything like that. That sounds
Amazon
really nice.
Fire thingy is pretty nice.
Yeah.
But if you did, I mean, I know you have listened
Yeah.
to some audiobooks.
This is me so much more taking it from word of mouth than it is about my own experience because I read the first Law series.
I've heard this exact same thing.
I've heard Stephen Pacey as the narrator is incredible.
Like, incredible, yeah.
And I've gone back and listened to snippets of him because I wanted to
I
hear what the
need
characters
to.
always sound like on YouTube. And I'm like, let me go listen to Logan Nine Figures real quick and see what he sounds like at this moment. Let me go listen to Call Shivers or Jazal and see what they sound like. And he does incredible work.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they all three like very distinct and different?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Glokta, he even goes as far as...
Oh, Glocka.
Jakey hates this part, but he goes as far as like making the mouth sounds of
Oh,
a man missing half his teeth.
Yeah.
Real
I could see
raspy,
JT
sort of
hating
like,
that too, yeah.
like gum noises.
Yeah, since he
Katie
has like...
can't stand mouse sounds, dude. She'll
Yeah.
like turn the TV off.
Misophonia.
Yeah, exactly.
But Stephen Pacey, I've heard, and from the little experience snippets I've had, are great. And also, whoever it is that does the Stormlight, because I've gone back and listened to Dallin Arc.
Kate Redding and Michael Kramer.
Michael Kramer, when he goes you cannot have my pain.
Yeah.
I listen to that and I'm like sobbing myself because
Yeah,
the pain in his own voice as he says it.
He's
this
pretty
guy's
good
invested.
too. He's got like that. I don't know how he made his voice like bellow like that either,
Yeah.
but like it's all natural. And I'm like, how is he doing that with
The
his
best
mouth?
voice actors and narrators are as invested in the characters as the readers are.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you can
I
just
feel like
feel that
I would say Kate Redding and Michael Kramer are my favorite because Sanderson uses them a lot, and I don't know why people don't do it as much. But why is it a thing where it's always one person just reading the whole way through? Right? Like, if you have female
because
characters,
of how the it's kind of like how the Actors Guild works, right? Like the
Okay.
SAG, I think it's called.
I'm not sure.
Singers and Actors Guild. I think that's what it stands
Okay.
for, right?
Screen Actors Guild, maybe?
Screen Actors Guild.
I'm not sure.
We'll look it up.
Okay.
Union stuff.
Yeah.
Union stuff.
And so they'll get these like bids out there to like, hey, like Will Wheaton, I know because I've heard him talk about this, is like they'll come out there and be like, hey, we've got like these books, this company, whatever company's publishing it. A lot of times it's at like
Penguin. Mouse?
yeah.
Yeah.
But they don't do it every time. They're just a pretty big company in it. Yeah. But they'll put bids out there for like, Lord of the Rings and like, hey, come test for this, and a couple people will test for it, and then one will get it.
Okay.
But I think it's because of how those things work with voice actors and everything that it's kind of unfair if it does multiple voices for that book.
Okay. And I know I'm pretty sure those two don't probably mind all of that stuff that I have no idea about, like SAG and all that stuff. But because those two are personally married. So
Yeah.
Really cool.
that's probably why they don't mind, if they have to take a pay cut or even I'm sure it's not a pay cut because if you have to pay them both the same, if there's one lump amount that you would give to one person, then you cut that in half, give it to two people. Those two still get the full
and
amount.
I think that's the problem with
Also,
Sure.
part of it is like the Screen Actors Guild and unions and whatnot for actors, and I imagine this is probably true for voice actors in the same capacity as, people are entitled to a certain amount of pay, like per diem. So, for example, if like I'm on a project and I'm one of 12 other voice actors on this audiobook or audio drama for that matter, and if I only have one line, they're paying me per day that I'm still staying in wherever, Los Angeles, for example, to record these lines, even if I only have to read one line in that entire week span compared to like the other person who's doing, daily. So it's like, Wit may have a point of view chapter in Stormlight, but that's 1 out of every 12. Or even less than that, and like to pay that voice actor a separate voice actor than Dalinar's voice actor, it's a lot of money going towards a guy saying one line.
Right. Yeah.
Or
That makes a
one
lot of
chapter.
sense. That makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense too. All right.
Yeah, I know how in the 80s and the 90s it used to be 3 lines, 3 sentences was like what you'd have to be, what would SAG would cover you. Because how I look at them is like a union. They basically have your back when it comes to all these producing companies and everything trying to get one over on you. And What was I saying?
For anyone who is realizing how wrong we are about all of this, you can email us at mattcomplaints@yahoo.com.
Oh.
That is Matt, M-A-T-T, complaints@yahoo.com. Please let us know everything that we got wrong today.
Yeah, you can send your complaints to the whatever podcast@gmail.com.
I'm not sure if that first email address was real, but that was actually really good, Bryce. If we could have actually had you say the real email address we had, that would have been actually...
Cut that.
Cut that, because that would have been really good if you actually said the fucking
I thought he
email
was at
address.
first. I was
Yeah,
like,
I
just put that up
thought
last
you
night.
set that up, Matt. I was like, damn, this is
I'll
good.
set
This
it
is
up
good
today, and I'll
podcasting.
collect it and I'll put it into a large book and like get it professionally bound, and I'll give that to you for Christmas one year, and I'll be like, hey, here's everything you've ever said wrong ever. Just, most of it's gonna be complaints against me on one
could be
single
good
episode
and
I'm
lightning.
on.
It's gonna be a lot. I say a lot of dumb shit. There's no filter like when it comes from my brain to my mouth. It's just coming out.
Okay. Well, that could be fortuitous. Or,
It's also
Bad.
it's actually good for
Wow,
most
I used
people
a
because
big
I
word and a
compliment a
small
lot of
word.
people and it just comes out when
Yeah,
I compliment
well, that's
them.
good.
So it's good for them.
that's very fucking good.
Probably makes people feel better.
Yeah.
Humans. I mean, us.
Yeah.
What?
What? Okay.
That's
Also...
that's that lizard brain speaking.
Yeah, we literally left off the conversation was Matt didn't remember what he was talking about. So.
Yeah, that's gonna happen a lot on this podcast.
Fuck,
Probably at least once.
Okay, let me look
But
at
I
my
was-
list. I was trying to do more off the cuff shit, but
I'll vamp a little bit here. My number one profession, if I could choose anything, would be voice actor for sure. Like, just
Really?
getting a chance to not. I mean, I'm not going to say it's easy because it's certainly not. Like,
Sure.
In no way is being a voice actor easy.
I couldn't
But
even
the fact
imagine.
that I don't have to get in a six pack to play a role.
Yeah. Sounds
Sign
pretty
me up.
nice. Sounds pretty
Sign
fucking
me up. Like I
nice.
said,
And people still know
in a
my voice.
Studio. Yeah, I could sit in a studio, be known for playing all the best voices like Laura Bailey and Troy Baker, and
Yeah.
you know.
I feel like you get more freedom as a voice actor. Kind of. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just because you're not beholden to just like generally people, just normal people,
But I
right?
imagine that's also so hard to get into because there are like the top 4 voice actors, and then outside of that, you know, it's got to be so hard to secure a big role because like Jennifer Hale, for example, like she's gonna get the primary lead role for any female protagonist in any game, like Mass Effect, for example.
Yeah, and I feel like the people who are like the top 4 of voice acting can probably do any voice that you need.
Yeah.
So you don't need any more than those, right?
Yeah.
So I
Troy
could-
Baker's range is insane.
Yeah, so it definitely would be really hard to squeeze into that. But that's pretty cool though.
That'd be my number one career choice.
Okay, that's a cool choice. I think I would just probably, I mean, obviously like probably every young kid in the world, and at heart I am, but I would just want to be a streamer. Just want to play some video games for
Yeah,
people.
make money playing
And
video games.
for the enjoyment of people. I think I would also like I would also like to interact with chat.
But
Chat's fun.
Yeah,
You
but
sit there and you
would
stare
it
at
really
Twitch
be
chat. Those fucking,
fulfilling?
I am one of those plebeians.
I mean,
so.
do you make the choice that Ninja did where do you become the main streamer for 12-year-olds because it's more profitable?
Yes. If it's a video game I enjoy,
that
yes.
Awkward moment where you're like at that New Year's Eve ceremony where you're
Jesus
like, "Boss with
Christ."
me," and the whole audience just stares at him because it's cold and raining and no one's having fun, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Who's this fucking guy?
Yeah.
Who's this blue hair guy?"
Well, first
sitting
of
up
all,
here telling me to
he
floss?"
shouldn't have been there. Like, he just shouldn't have been there. Not, I mean, fucking 12-year-olds aren't going to fucking New York City to watch the ball drop.
Yeah.
So why would you get that? You know his targeted demographic. You're ABC.
He was.
What the fuck are
Yeah.
you doing? You know what's going on here.
Yeah, it was a terrible choice.
It was a very terrible choice.
I just wouldn't want to be a streamer because I don't want to make my passion my job. That's where voice acting, you know, I'm speaking.
That's fair.
I can speak all day long just like any other role would require me, but at least then I can speak about the things I'm passionate about without having to do it when I don't want to do it. You know, like if I'm a
Interesting.
voice actor for like an audiobook, for example, I don't have to do it over and over again. I read that book once, and as long as they're all good takes, you know, some chapters I have to redo again because
Sure.
some bad takes will happen.
Everybody makes mistakes.
But it's not like I have to play the same
like
game,
scenes.
guaranteed 8 hours every single day, even when I hate it. And that's what being a
No,
streamer
no.
would
There's
not be a problem
variety
for.
streamers, Bryce. There's variety streamers.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
those
are
really
they
make
as
the kind of money
popular?
that? Yeah, exactly. Do they make the kind of money that
Yes,
Ninja does
they
from
do.
playing
Most of the-
100,000 hours of Fortnite?
Yes, they make nowadays. Those kind of streamers make more than
And
everyone
you know,
else.
some shitty streamers like Destiny
Well, Destiny's not too bad. He's just got really over the top
Okay, I could-
opinions, and he's very expressive about it.
I could see that. I wouldn't say they make more than like professional players, but I could see them.
I
being
think some
variety
do.
streamers being
I
the
think
higher
some.
streamers.
I think some easily do.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. Do you know how much? Do you know how many subs Ludwig had this year?
That's true.
326,000.
And that's what, $5 a piece?
Well, no, Twitch takes its cut, but
Yeah.
Oh, so you make like $2 a piece?
I don't know, but just do that. Just do that math. That was 1 month. He did a subathon where he streamed for a month. Literally left his camera on the whole month. People watched him sleep. He did that for a month. Got 326,000 subs.
Wow.
That was a month. No professional gamers making that kind of move.
Streamers are pretty...
Nowadays, they're getting up there when it comes to revenue.
Ridiculously impervious to being canceled in ways that they should have been canceled. Like PewDiePie on that PUBG stream, he should have been canceled in that instant.
Oh, when he said the N-word?
Yeah, he should have been canceled in that instant, and then somehow wasn't.
Yeah, and he's
Dr.
still like
Disrespect
one of the most
canceled way long ago because.
What did he do?
What didn't he do?
Didn't he like beat his wife or something?
No, he was cheating on his wife.
The big thing that he got canceled for temporarily was he brought a live camera into the
bathroom.
The E3 bathroom,
Yeah.
where they're like,
right,
children using the restroom at the time of him.
That's pretty
recording.
obviously pretty stupid of him to do.
Yeah, like they're pretty impervious to being canceled in ways that is surprising, considering that
Right, and it's so weird too because Dr. Disrespect's got controversy too because he's not allowed back on Twitch. But like he didn't get banned. He didn't get like banned on Twitch for one of those reasons that you're outlining.
Really weird sort of moment where I don't know if you saw like the last stream he ever did, where it's like this super weird thing where he just like turns white as a ghost after like reading something.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like a cease and desist or something. He
right.
received, but like that really weird sort of like.
It's still a mystery.
He looked like he was like his life just fell apart in front of his eyes.
It's still a mystery. People still to this day do not know why he's banned from Twitch.
Maybe it's just like a big stunt he did to get some attention.
Maybe.
Just pretended he was
I feel like he's still doing well on YouTube.
I mean, I still see like I see physical advertisements for him in stores.
Oh yeah, for like Mountain Dew and shit.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck?
I mean,
Who's paying this?
People Bryce, capitalism doesn't care. They see where big dollar sign is, they put their money towards big dollar sign. He's big dollar sign.
Yeah, those people never have a future though. Sorry to say.
Those people what?
Never have a future. There's no spot for them right now.
Oh.
Especially in the COVID world.
Imagine like Ninja being in history books in like 10 years from now. Like the Twitch stream phenomenon, Ninja.
Probably.
I'd be so upset.
Well, I mean, luckily because of COVID, they've increased, and any streamers have made more money because of COVID.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
but
people need something to watch.
Here's my thing with some of the streamers: choose better role models. Choose better role models. PewDiePie's not a good role model.
No,
Dr. Disrespect's not a good role model.
Fair.
12-year-olds shouldn't be basing their life around how this guy
XQC
lives.
is probably not a good role model, no. Yeah.
Destiny's not a good role model. These people shouldn't be like what you should aim for as a person. Like, yeah, it'd be cool to get a lot of money doing the things you enjoy doing. Anyone wants that. Everyone wants that.
Sure.
The behaviors they espouse is not a good
Yeah.
role model for someone who's still developing and trying to figure out who they are in the world.
Yeah. It's definitely... Especially for these older streamers some of them we just outlined. Some of them, I like to assume that, especially, I mean, like, with Dr. Disrespect, that it's all just, like a show, right? I mean, the dude puts on a wig and a mustache and fucking puts on this extreme gear, and he acts this way to get those people to watch him and give him money.
Do you think, like, this is some...
That is not something people should be idolizing and trying to emulate, no.
What I'm saying is, do you think that what he's portraying is some role that he wrote, or do you think this is his baser lizard brain speaking in terms of who he actually is when he's not giving his like professional front? Like everyone has like their work face, you know. When I'm at work, I'm far different than I am in an environment with my friends, or even at home when I'm just ranting about shit that I'm passionate about or upset about. Like I have to wonder, like, yeah, it could be a role he's doing, but how much of that role is just him showing through and the shitty parts of himself coming to the forefront?
If you want, I would honestly say it's probably a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of column A, how much is column A, how much is column B? I don't know. But I think with all like acts like that, that's generally the case. It's either like an act that secretly this is how you wish you more were in real life, and this is what you know people like, so you ham it up in that way.
It's the statement that every joke has a kernel of truth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It appeals to you because there's part of you who, either believes in that truth, or part of you who subscribes to that idea that the offensive thing you're saying, you find it funny.
Yeah. I still would want to be a streamer though. I'd put on an act for people. I'd do a little monkey dance if I got to play some video games.
You could do that right now.
I probably could, but I mean, I want like...
You want instant fame?
Yeah, of course, like everyone else does. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
I don't even want instant fame for this. I just want people to listen to it that we know.
Yeah, this is cool. Definitely.
I listen to it. I listened to all the Star Trek episodes. I haven't listened to other 2 episodes yet, but I listened to all the Star Trek episodes.
Nice.
Right on.
It was a good
Fuck
time.
Yeah, we got a loyal listener.
Yeah, Tucker playing the flute. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good
It
time.
was pretty, I'm practicing. Actually, I got better at the end of it. So, don't blame me.
To be honest, people were waiting for this episode.
Oh.
What? Name
With
them.
you. Oh, what people?
Name them.
Oh, I can't name them. Tucker used your last name. We're gonna have to cut that out later because
Cut that.
we don't use last names.
Well, how am I supposed to ride your coattails if no one knows who I am? When you get famous and like, yeah, that Brice guy's kind of funny, I want to hire him or something. How are they going to remember?
Yeah, I'm pretty
that?
sure we do say full names.
We can if you want. I just didn't confirm with them before we
Okay.
started the pod.
This is Brice Moore. If you find me funny, please hire me.
Yeah. Please do.
Please hire me.
I was going to say.
Please give me money to do
I'm pretty sure.
You can reach Brice on Facebook.
Yeah, you're also.
MattComplaints@yahoo.com.
you're like.
Whatever podcast.
You're targeting all the people we know as our demographic, and you're acting like they're not going to know who fucking Brice is, you know? Like, don't say his last name. Then they'll know who he is.
My anonymity.
There's actually quite a few listeners that don't know who Brice is.
Oh. Well, this is our friend Brice Moore.
Like Chang. Chang's out there.
Hello, Chang.
Oh, yeah.
Very nice to meet you.
He's a very
Yeah.
charming person.
I hope I can get Chang to get on this podcast.
That would be interesting.
We do have to end this because
we
we're
do.
approaching an hour and 45 minutes.
Okay, so wrapping up here, if you had any recommendations for people who would just for books in general, doesn't necessarily have to be beholden to sci-fi fantasy.
Sci-fi.
Yeah.
We'll cut that out. Cut that.
Cut that.
Books I would recommend for fantasy. I mean, you always want to start with the big ones that influence everything. I mean, all fantasy and sci-fi both are inspired by Dune, so I mean that's always a good.
Dune, yeah, Frank Herbert. Look that up.
Frank Herbert, yeah.
Get lost in the spice.
Brandon Sanderson, get lost in the spice. Brandon Sanderson, Brian McClellan, Patrick Rothfuss, Scott Lynch. Those are the cornerstones of modern fantasy that
Yeah, those are some
anyone
heavy
who's reading
hitters
fantasy
here.
should read.
Yes, agreed.
And obviously you got to read Game of Thrones. Don't leave it out of there.
It's not recent fantasy though, you know.
True.
It's not.
Oh,
It's not what it is.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
that's fair. That's fair. Probably his latest book.
Yeah, when did that come out? 10 years ago?
Yeah. Because he's been on a drought as long as Rothfuss has.
Oh, yeah, you guys are
I think
right.
his
That
is
shit
longer.
ain't coming out.
No, it's not coming out, dude. He's fucking.
He's giving up. He's moved on.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
I heard he was working on the new HBO series.
Oh yeah.
So, dude, he needs a manager or something.
I'm pretty sure he
A
has
boss?
a manager. He's a very successful author.
He got lucky. Somehow.
Did he?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think something happened to him, like an alien or some shit came down, helped him write this shit. Now it's gone, and now he's fucked.
An eldritch cosmic being from across the universe inspired him and put him into stages of mania like Stephen King, where he'd be up at 5 a.m. on cocaine from 2 hours
can
of
see
sleep
it.
in the last 2 weeks straight, where he just wrote 100 pages.
Out on his trampoline, just fucking bouncing up and down.
Yeah.
And thank you, Brice, for joining us this glorious day and having this glorious conversation.
Yeah, it was really nice to have you, man.
It was my absolute pleasure. I have never had more fun hearing the sound of my own voice in my entire life.
It's kind of weird, I know.
Good. I hope you're willing to come on again. And,
Yeah, we would love to have you. That'd be awesome.
We'll have a different topic then.
I'm going to be contacting my union head, and I will be back weekly, or else you'll hear from my lawyer.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
That's fair. Thanks,
Also,
everyone.
once more, mattcomplaints@yahoo.com.
Yeah, at whatever podcast@gmail.com.
Just conversation skills in general.
Having a lot of, leading training classes over Zoom really helped me learn to speak in a way that was actually decent.
It's either put up or shut up, you know?
Yeah, exactly. If I'm like trying to tell people how to do this job and I'm like stumbling over every subject I'm going over, they're not going to trust me.
No,
They're not
probably
going to trust the training they got.
They're
So I
gonna
had
be
to
a
like,
little weary at the very least.
Yeah.
You know, like, this is kind of what you're talking about.
so I spent a lot of time like researching like different like voice tricks to not talk in the same monotone like I used to. Like I know I used to be a very monotonic person,
A little bit, maybe, yeah.
and I had to make a real effort to not do that.
Yeah, you're doing well. You're doing very well.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. Why are you whining? I know I left that door cracked.
Cause I'm mad.
I probably want to eat Brice. All right. Anyway, 3, 2, 1.